Hi, it's Jane. I'm not real sure where the voice is going. It keeps coming in and out, so we'll just keep going on like it's gonna behave. I'm still knitting on the sweater. Um, but other than that, I've been working on doing some sewing along with some cleaning. That's always fun. But the sewing is, the cleaning's not. I had quite a mess in the sewing area. Still have a lot of cleaning up to do there. But I had some sewing that I needed to get done and get sent out and get ready for someone to come pick it up later on this afternoon. So got all of that done and out of the way and ready to go. So I'm ready to sew. I'll be able to sit down and sew those things tomorrow afternoon and into Sunday afternoon. And some of those are bags. There's a couple of bags that I will show you on Monday that will be up for sale in the shop. I am planning on adding some of the shirts that I make to that. So that won't be Monday. That'll be Tuesday evening that I will do that. And basically they're just t-shirts where you add flannel to the side to make them one size fits all. And they do fit up to 3XL. So it's a lot of fun to do. You know, it's an interesting way to recycle things and keep things out of landfill. And mostly it's the t-shirts that are recycled. I don't always recycle the flannels. Sometimes it depends on how good a shape they're in. And what I mean by that is many times people will get flannel shirts and they're not flannel type people, so they'll give them to Goodwill. And yes, I will purchase them then. Most of them still have tags on them. And so those I do, I guess, recycle. The other ones I normally pay for. Lots of times you can find them in garage sales, brand new as well. So, but t-shirts sometimes, and it depends on your Goodwill area, because there's a lot of Goodwill areas that do not have what I would call decent clothing they put out there. I guess mainly because many times I've seen even stained things get through. And it used to be Goodwill did not do that. We do have another sort of used store that has recently opened up. I've not gone to it yet. I planned on going to it next week. There were a couple of shops that I needed to go to, and so I just plan on doing that next week. And just seeing what's available there. You know? So that's kind of what I've been up to. Cats still don't understand how to use the cat tree. They walk on the bottom, sit on it, look out the window. They don't climb up it or anything else. They're just silly. What can I say? I need to do a stitch count, so I'm going to pause you for a moment so I can count my stitches. Okay, I still need to keep adding a few more stitches, so that is what I will do. It's important every once in a while to stop, count those stitches. This pattern, you should, by the time you get to your full increases to start working on the body of the sweater, should have 140 stitches. So that's where I'm at. Gotta get a few more. I have 116, I think. So I have a few more stitches to go. Ronan has been super needy this morning. While I was in the sewing room cutting and ironing on the interfacing, he was right up my you-know-what. Had to be petted quite a few times, and he likes to sit behind me in the chair. So he gets up there, and then every once in a while, he's like trying to jump on my shoulder. I don't know what he thinks he's doing. I think he thinks he's some kind of trapeze artist. Is he? Could care less. Until she gets bored and she wonders where everybody is. And then you'll hear her mewling in the rest of the room. Through the house, looking for us. Which is kind of cute. Because she's worried to death. Where are they at? I don't know where they at. Where's my peoples? It's one of those days. It's cloudy. It's dreary. Not really had any extra snow. Which is fine. But I don't like when it's that cloudy, darkish kind of day. You know what I mean? It's one of those days where you think it's dusk all day long. You're like, what time is it? And then you look at the clock and you're like, it's only 2 o'clock. What's going on? So yeah, that kind of. We have our temperature today is 23. Yippee. Tomorrow I think it's supposed to be even colder. Not looking forward to that. I don't really like these colds like that. But, what are you going to do, right? Not a whole lot you can do about it. But, so yeah, it's a little more on the interesting side there, with the coolness. I think I was talking with Joanne and through TikTok, and we were talking about how cold it is. And I think she's in Minnesota. And she had talked about how she keeps hearing that it's going to be really cold the very beginning of the winter and then fairly mild after that. Joanne, I hope you're right. Boy, do I hope you're right. It's times like these that I kind of think back, when I was growing up in New Mexico, it was cold, but it wasn't this cold. I think we got down to the 40s. Every once in a while we get down into 30s. We rarely had that much snow. Although this year they've had more snow than before, so that's a change for them. But then I can only remember once growing up that we even had any flooding around us. And I think for the past 5 years, Ruidoso and in Roswell, they've had flooding like 3 times. And not just a little bitty flood, a lot of big flooding. So, and I really think it's like because of what, Thomas had talked about earlier one year that the polar was shifting. You have a polar shift that happens every couple I think it's every 50 years or 25 years. So this was one of the years that you see the polar shift. So I think that's how come we're seeing some of these weird weather things that are going on. He said that it would happen. Said, if the past is any indication. So I guess we just have to deal with it, and Mother Nature's going to do what she's going to do. So what are you guys working on today? Have you gotten those Christmas items off your list and out of the way? I was talking with someone yesterday that was wanting to send their grandson, granddaughters cash. Now, their granddaughters, grandsons are in school, college. And she said she was worried about sending it, cash or check through the mail, because in the past, money has been stolen or the gift cards have been stolen out of the cards. And so I was talking to her. I said, well, have you ever thought about using Zelle, where it goes directly into their account from your account? So, you really don't have to worry about it going through the mail. And the mail lady had suggested that she use priority mail to send those kind of items through. She said the only thing with that is you do get tracking and you do get insurance. So if it goes missing, at least you get your money back. But it's sad that you have processing centers where the mail is being tampered with. And she had said to me, because the mail lady said, yeah, you can never tell what's going on with these processing centers. I said, you have to remember a lot of the processing centers are not run by the post office, but they sort of are. They're run by independent businesses. So they do have to meet a standard to work there, but it's a pretty easy standard to pass. But that doesn't mean that people working there aren't kind of sketchy. And I told her, I said, I worked in a place that was right in front of a mail processing center in Newport News. And I said, and they had some pretty sketchy people working there. They wouldn't be people I would trust with my purse. And the postal worker was looking at me going, so anyway, and I know her from Christian Women. And she said, well, will the bank help me with that? I said, possibly. You could probably do it if you went online, at home on your computer and do the Zelle. You could probably do it that way. Yourself. But I think most bank folks would be accommodating to you if you don't understand how to use it. They could show you, could possibly help you with that transaction at the teller window. If not, guess we'll both learn whether they can or not. So, yeah. My lady finally got signed up for her health insurance with the Medicare.gov. She said to me, I don't know what the deal was the other day. She said, but I got on, clicked on the one I wanted, and everything was hunky-dory. So that's a positive for her, right? Did get the little card put together. I'll try to remember to put a picture at the end of it. I do have my knitting needles on it, and I have a small basket that has the yarn that I'm doing doing the squares with the Christmas yarn. But then I have a couple of totes on it, little things like that. I do have a plastic bag, a gallon-sized quart bag that I've just been dropping the Barbie doll dresses in when I get those finished. And I did put that up there because Ronan, if he finds that bag, he's gonna chew on it. Him and that plastic, he is constantly chewing on plastic. And some of those polypropylene bags, like what AC Moore used to sell out front for $1, that were the big bag, shopping bags. He'll even chew on that. So, I'm like, good grief. And I give him crunchies. I've given him a couple of toys that that are good for him to chew on. But no, he likes the plastic. Like right now, he's roaming the house looking for trouble. I can tell he's got that trouble because what he does is he'll start roaming through the house. Normally his tail is curved up over his body, but when he's roaming, looking for trouble, looking to get into something, that tail is out pretty straight. Telltale giveaway. What Ronan's up to. And I'm kind of curious how the cats will be acting. I am filming this Friday afternoon. How they are going to be acting. I am staying over and picking up an extra shift tomorrow during the day with my little lady because the other gal that normally does it is going to the Polar Express with her grandkids. So there'll be a couple of extra hours that I'll be away. So I'm kind of curious how they'll behave when I get back. Ronan, usually he's just clingy as all get out. Is he? She's like, oh, you're home. There's a small spot in my feeding bowl that is empty. Could you fill it, please? Yeah, they're kind of wackadoodles sometimes. Let's see, news. The biggest news that I saw was the Irish teacher, Enoch Burke. A couple of months ago, he was arrested because he refused to call a transgender child by the pronoun that they wanted to be called. If I remember correctly, he said that's because that is not the sex that you are, and I'm not going to call you that. That's just the way he was going to do in his classroom. So he was arrested, and then at one point they refused to allow him to teach at the school, and now they have sentenced him to jail for the rest of his life because he refuses to call a transgender child by the pronoun that they have chosen. I think that's a bit extreme. I think losing his profession as a teacher, in a public venue, was probably enough punishment, but to actually jail him for that? And then we're seeing in the UK, you can't preach on the streets because it offends Islamists. Yet they're allowed to pray daily in the street. I find that offensive. If you want to do it in your home or in a mosque, or by all means, go for it. Or if you're doing it in your private office. But if you're out in public and you're doing it, I don't really want to see it. However, I will say at truck stops, it doesn't bother me. Mainly because they're far enough away. And the other reason is because most of the time they're not facing the right direction. But mainly because they do go out into the wooded area, away from the mainstream flow of traffic, flow of people. So it doesn't bother me. But if you're going down the street like what they're doing in most of these cities, stopping up streets and the sidewalks and stuff, no. That I don't think is appropriate. I watched an interview with a fellow. It's a reporter that had interviewed Islamists in Michigan, the Somali community, and they were all talking about they prefer Sharia law. They, father can choose who the daughter marries. They are allowed to kill those who insult Islam or Muhammad. And they believe in honor killings if their children do not follow their practices or become too westernized. And they all made the comment that they preferred living in Somalia to living in the U.S. So my question is, why are you living in the U.S.? If you prefer living in Somalia, go back home. I do not understand that mentality. Well, I sort of do. But we're not allowed to talk about that because that would be horrendous, right? The only other thing that I've seen is, I talked about the thing with Candace Owen. And the one thing that I forgot was she had made that statement on her podcast, anywhere, anytime. So they gave her a date, 2 weeks in advance. And she said no, it doesn't work for her. She would do it virtually. Well, there are a lot of people that have made arrangements, and the reason they chose that date, that time, is so those people can make arrangements. Someone had pointed out that she lives in Los Angeles. That not only that, she's a multimillionaire. She also has a private plane, so she doesn't even have to buy a ticket. The one other person that I saw that talked about it is going to Phoenix, Arizona for another event. But he said his plane ticket cost him $72 to $2, and it was I think he said it was a 55-minute flight. But she has access to a private plane, so, She doesn't even have to worry about making reservations. All she has to do is file a flight plan. And he also pointed out a lot of people have said, well, she's had death threats. Yeah, but that didn't stop her last week from going to Dollywood. And she had no security with her. Or if she did have security with her, there were a lot of people that stopped and talked to her, took pictures with her, and security didn't stop them. So apparently she's not really scared of a death threat. So, and I told you, I never doubted she would back out of it if push come to shove. Just because, like I said, I think she's a grifter. She does a lot of things to get attention and to make quite a bit of money. And those people that watch her podcast, she makes quite a bit of money there. And between her TikTok and her podcast and her reels. So, yeah. Of course, she's married to a multimillionaire, too. So that doesn't hurt either. And yes, they are both multimillionaires in their own right. She wasn't a multimillionaire because she married him. She was that before she married him. So yeah, that's kind of interesting to see. There's quite a few other things that have been going on around in our country that there's no media coverage of it. And a lot of those are attacks that are being done, again, by illegals on people, injuring, setting them on fire, you name it, all kinds of things like that. And nothing's being done. As well as the graping. All right, folks, I've got to pause you because I need to change the battery. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, I'm back. After a few distractions. Let's see, where was I? News, we were talking about news. I don't know, I turned on CNN at some point and was watching. It was Jake Tapper, and he was talking about the DC pipe bomb guy. They put the pipe bombs at the RNC and the DNC. And he said that Brian Coleman Jr., who is the DC pipe bomb guy, a white man. He's not white, he's black. So automatically, a lot of people are calling him a white man. And you got to remember, they call Hispanics, Asians, anyone who is lighter complected, black, a white man. So first of all, I found that kind of funny. But then I saw something where, and it had to do with Washington Post, Natasha Bertrand, can't remember her last name, had this anonymous source saying that he was upset because he felt that the 2020 election was stolen. I'm going to tell you why I find that hard to believe. First of all, his family had just lost a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Got to remember his family. He was in the family business, lived at home with his family. Their business was bailing out illegals as bondsmen. The multi-million-dollar case they lost was because the illegals that they had paid the bail for skipped bail. Just went deeper into the U.S., skipped bail. So they were on the hook, having lost the lawsuit, to have to pay the multi-million-dollars back for those illegals that skipped bail. That is the problem with bail bondsmen. If you skip your court date or whatever, they lose. They're the ones that are on the hook for whatever your bail was. So, and then they have to pay your bail. And they are family that supported BLM. And I find it hard to believe that he would be upset that he thought that the election was stolen and be a Trump supporter when they lost the multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the Trump administration. They're DOJ. So I don't know. Who knows? But I find that highly suspicious. But you gotta keep your eye on those kind of things. And the White House put out there, they now have a website for fake news, calling out the fake news, which is probably a good thing. But so yeah, there's a lot out there, and unfortunately, it seems like the news agencies are telling one side of a story that's not true in many cases. So you have to dig a little deeper, look a little deeper. That's what I'm going to say on that. And it looks like the Supreme Court has upheld the redistricting map of Texas. Now, I'm not sure why Democrats thought it was okay to take it to the courts and all that kind of stuff, because this redistricting was already out of a court case that mandated that they redistrict that area. Can't make this stuff up, So, yeah. And the only other thing that I've seen is apparently Democrats are suing the Trump administration for taking away SNAP benefits and all kinds of things from illegals. But they're also the ones that said that they don't get it. So why are they suing for taking them away? See, those things they don't make sense to me. Which that tells me, number one, Democrats were lying the whole time when they're telling you that they don't get benefits. So, I don't know. There's something else I'm going to do. Oh, I saw today where President Trump received the FIFA Peace Award. So that was interesting to watch. Watched about 10 minutes of that, and the little talk and speech. And So congratulations, Mr. President, for that. I think that's kind of all that I've really noticed in the news lately, other than the normal stories that aren't getting news coverage in different areas, and you have to really go deep into you have to look at certain things, and I'm one of those people that I go look at different press releases from certain areas of our country to see what's going on with the sheriffs and police departments. And when you do that, you get to see a lot of things that are not reported. Crimes, those kind of things. So, yeah. Kind of crazy, isn't it? But that's about it for the news. Nothing going on. I sat down here, was getting ready to turn the video camera back on, and I caught movement out of my eye. So I got busy watching the deer walk across their little trail looking for food. And I always find that interesting to watch them, in the snow and ice. Because they always look so sure-footed. I have seen one deer slip. Now, they didn't fall, but they slipped one time in the ice. But so I always find it interesting to watch that, to see them trek across their little trails. And they do have a couple of trails right up in here that they follow all the time. Don't always see them, deep into winter. Like generally the end of December, January, may not see them much at all. I am hoping that I can finally get to filming the Barbie doll tutorial at least Tuesday. Thursday afternoon. Do I have a doctor's appointment? I don't know if that's Thursday afternoon or Friday. Might be Friday. Can't remember. Need to look and see, folks. Nope, it's Wednesday afternoon. Thursday afternoon next week. I'm hoping to be able to start filming the shawl tutorial with using the iris lace. I'm getting there. It's just there's too much stuff in the way. But the Barbie doll one should be fairly easy. It's pretty simple. It's one of those no-nonsense things. And that has been fun. The knit one will be done on a different day, but the crochet one, I'm hoping, like I said, to get that filmed Tuesday. So at least it'll get out there. Trying to watch this crazy cat. She's over here rolling around on the floor. She lately has been a little bit more personable, wanting to come up and get a little bit more pets than normal. But she still has this thing where she likes to lay on the rug right in front of the fire, belly up. It's kind of funny to watch. but she'll lay there for the longest time. I guess she's getting her tan on. I don't know what she's doing. But she is cute when she does it. Alright, guys. I know I just came back on, but I'm going to let you go because I have a couple other things I need to get done this evening. So, everybody, I hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you again tomorrow. And in the meantime, try to do something kind for somebody if you can. And work on your projects. Get them done. Get them out of the way.